And welcome to Seek Architect to Win. This will be our third part of the second building block, mulling over record access. In this episode, we look a little deeper into role hierarchies, group maintenance tables, and we conclude this episode with a business scenario involving both profiles and role hierarchies. Without much ado, let's dig in. A role hierarchy, it typically may mirror the organization chart, but it necessarily does not need to, because the premise behind creation of role hierarchies inside Salesforce lies on the data access needs of the organization. So what level of access and what data each of the nodes within the role hierarchy need. Okay, each role in the hierarchy should represent a level of data access that a user or group of users need. So that's the uh, premise on which the role hierarchies are built. Some of the critical use cases of having a robust, well thought role hierarchies are outlined below, which are management access. So managers see and do what their subordinates can see and do. That's the first thing. And second is the reporting, because the data that the subordinates can access are also rolled up to their managers. Third is the segregation between organizational segments. So you can have multiple segments within the organization. Could be the sales segment, and you have the service segment, and the data that these two groups of users use need not necessarily be shared. However, the data from each of these segments have to be rolled up to the higher management. So that segregation could happen with the help of role hierarchies and segregation within the role. So take a look at the bottom leaf nodes in a role hierarchy. Let's say the role such as service agent, right? The uh, or a sales agent for that matter. So look at opportunities and example. So and take an example of uh, sales agent role. There could be sales agent associated to sales agent east role. There could be agents associated to sales agent west role, and these folks own opportunities. So these opportunities are not typically shared across these leaf nodes, right? So uh, that's how you could segment the data um, within the role. So you can say sales agent role, and there are uh, multiple sales agents across locations, and the opportunities owned by one agent is not typically visible to the other agent. So that's another function of the role hierarchy. And when you talk about the group maintenance tables, we discussed the sharing, the share object, the share table, and sharing roles, which typically grants access to users and groups, and which helps you to uh, granularly define record access to users and groups. But the you know uh, the data that specifies who belongs to each group are are stored in group maintenance table. And that's about the membership data for every Salesforce group. And typically what happens is when you create the nodes within the role hierarchy system, you know a Salesforce typically creates multiple groups. So some of them are system defined groups, some of them are user defined groups. The system defined groups are created to support various functions and behaviors. So one typical example is the queues. So Salesforce creates two types of system defined groups. Those are role groups and role and subordinate groups for every node in the role hierarchy. So if you take a good look at this infographics, I have created a very lean, simplified role hierarchy with just two roles. Account manage a role, to which Shibu, the user, is tagged to, and account executive role, to which Chirag Shibu is tagged to. Just these two roles. And once this is created, all I have to do is to query the group object. Okay, if you query the group object with the developer name, account executive, and account manager, you see typically three different groups getting created. So these are system defined groups, and all these three groups per role, you could see account executive role, okay, repeats three times. And for each of the system roles that gets created, system groups that gets created, so role is one of the system groups, role and subordinates is the another system group, role and subordinates internal is another system group. So in total there are three system groups, but role and subordinates internal is a system group where you when you have enabled the external access in your org. So if it is not, then you find only role and subordinate groups, which I have discussed further. Okay, and the membership inside this group, those are defined by these rules. Let's say I have Itushibu, who's assigned the account manager role, and the membership inside the group, if you look at the membership, it typically shows Itushibu, and it is governed by this rule. Users assigned to any of the following a specific role. So Itushibu is assigned account manager role. So within the membership within the role group, it shows Itushibu and one of its manager roles. So I don't have a manager here. But when you look at account executive role, Chirag Shibu is a direct member of this role, while Itushibu is an indirect member, which is this one of its manager roles. So both of them are members of account executive. So Chirag Shibu is a direct member of account executive, and both of them are members of role and subordinates group. Okay, and if you look at the role and subordinates group, and you look at the account manager, account manager role and subordinates group, you see Itushibu and Chirag Shibu both are direct members inside it. And if you consider account executive role and subordinates group, the membership is Chirag Shibu is the direct member and Itushibu is an indirect member of this role and subordinates group. So this is governed by this rule, a specific role, one of its member roles, one of its subordinate roles. Okay, and this could, if you can further simplify this socle to directly query the group object with its developer name. Okay, so these are this account executive and account manager role. These are developer names inside user role object. Okay, so this is good enough information to understand. It's a simplified way to understand what goes under the hood and group maintenance tables. And with that under our belt, let's decipher this requirement. Kali, CFO at upquotient.com, a career builder, transformer, and an amplifier company, has entrusted you, the architect, to implement the very critical requirement of hiding payments related data from zonal account executives. Okay, so how do we do a setup? So currently a custom object, customer payments, are used to log the payments made by customers and is linked to account via a master data relationship. So two objects are involved here. One, the standard account object, and second, the custom customer payments object. So one account can have multiple payments attached to it and is created automatically via REST API by the external system. Okay, so accounts are owned by zonal account executives. Okay, so the role is account executive, and currently they have access to payments related data. They report to regional account managers having account manager role. Okay, the requirement is to hide the payments related data from zonal account executives but have them accessible only to regional account managers and above. So this is a typical setup, and the role is set up in this way. Let me first pull that out, that information. You could see here, account manager at the top, and the user Itushibu is assigned to the account manager role, and account executive the reporting role, and Chirag Shibu is associated to that role. Okay, and the requirement is the customer payments, which is related to account record, should only be visible to account manager, while it should be hidden to the account executives. Okay, so Chirag Shibu, it should be hidden, and Itu Shibu, it should be visible to. Currently, when Chirag Shibu logs in, he has access and visibility to the customer payments. Okay, that's because, if you look at the account career engineer, it is owned by Chirag Shibu, and customer payment is linked to account via a master data relationship. So the visibility is typically driven at the parent level. Okay, so Chirag Shibu has access to account, which means he by default will have access to the related customer payment records. Okay, okay, let's look at the setup now. So what I've done is created a custom object, customer payments, with payment date, amount, and account, which is a related field, MD field to account. Couple of profiles, custom account executive profile with access to customer payment object, and second, custom account manager with credit permission on the customer payments object. Both profiles have access to the custom app. So this is another app created. So the third one is, you can also have a custom integration user, because the customer payments are automatically created via an API. So you can have it, and you may simulate that using Workbench, creating some of the customer payments record. The fourth one is roles. So created account executive role and account manager role. Created users, Chirag Shibu assigned to account executive role, and Itu Shibu linked to account manager, and appropriate profiles. Okay, so account executive to custom account exec profile, account manager to custom account manager profile. So Itu Shibu is the manager, and Chirag Shibu is the account executive. Chirag Shibu reports to Itu Shibu, and a very simplified app, B2B customer payments, and just added the account tab. So this is the setup, and prima facie it looks this way, the infographics. So customer payment object with these custom fields, Chirag Shibu and Itu Shibu, with the role as account executive for Chirag Shibu and account manager for Itu Shibu, and the profiles, appropriate profiles. And this is how it looks inside the app, account and customer payments. And the assist setup, the zonal account executive, which is Chirag Shibu, who reports to Itu Shibu, logs in, and what he sees, this is the assist setup. He logs in, Chirag Shibu logs in, and he sees he has access to the account record because he owns it, and now he has access to the customer payment records also. Okay, so this has to be hidden from him. Okay, so the customer payment records have to be hidden from Chirag Shibu, while Itu Shibu should have access to both account and customer payment records. So that's the requirement. So the account manager, Itoshibu, logs in, and she should be able to access account and customer payment. This is the assist setup, and this have to be maintained. Okay, in order to achieve this, so how do we achieve the solution? So already we have set up the role hierarchy, where Itoshibu is the manager and Chirag Shibu is the account exec. So in a way, whatever is owned by Chirag Shibu should be by default be visible to Itu Shibu. Okay, and in order to hide the customer payments from Chirag Shibu, what I've done is to manipulate his profile, so custom account exec profile, and remove the read access on customer payment custom object. So that's what is done. And I've logged in as Chirag Shibu to see if it indeed works. Yes. So Chirag Shibu has access to account because he owns that, and he has lost access, or the customer payments are now hidden. Okay, from Chirag Shibu, which is what we desire. So the this is part of the requirement. So now Itu Shibu logs in, and he accesses the career engineer account record, and he has access to the customer payment. Okay, so this is what is desired. So let's look at the setup inside the application. So this is the users, okay, Chirag Shibu and Itu Shibu, account exec and account manager role, and custom account exec and custom account manager profile. And we look at the profiles. So this is account exec profile, and what we need to look here is the custom object permission on customer payments, right? So let's look at that. Customer payments, just trying to spot it. Yeah, so it is here. Customer payments, the read access is removed, while for the account manager, the read access is enabled, the credit permissions are enabled, and this is how the roles are set. So you have the account exec role, executive role reporting to account manager role, and Itu Shibu is assigned the account manager, and Chirag Shibu is assigned the account executive. Okay, and let's log in as one of those users, right? And I will log in as Chirag Shibu to demonstrate that he currently has no access to customer payments, though he has access to the record concerned, and he owns the record, so he has access to it, and but he has lost access to the customer payments, what the which is what the desired state. Just drilling down on career engineer account, and check. Meanwhile, okay, so we complete this and navigate. So you could see the related records. So nothing is shown as related. Let's move on. Log off as Chirag Shibu, and I will log in as Itu. Let me check if it has logged out. Okay, I log in as Itu Shibu, and now here the user Itu Shibu, who is an account manager, should have visibility to both the account record and the related payments record. And yeah, so this is fine. Itu Shibu has logged in. I'm drilling down on career engineer account. Let's see if it works as expected. And okay, it has loaded. You could see this related customer payments. You could see the Itu Shibu can see the related customer payments of career engineer account. Okay, so that's the uh, scenario, and that's the solution. These are the steps. You may simulate this in your orgs. You need to set up multiple things, right from the profile, your custom objects, profile, roles, and configure your profiles accordingly and simulate it. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.